What is up, everyone? Happy Football Friday. It's a snowy Football Friday here in Milwaukee. Got about 8 inches last night. It was ridiculous today, but hopefully roads are all right. I can get some money tonight. But anyways, we got XFL Week 4 coming up this weekend. Very excited for the games. And hopefully fourth time is the charm for the weekly XFL parlay. I'll be posting that on our betting Twitter here after the show. We do have some college news, USFL, XFL as well, some nuggets, and we got a trade in the NFL as well as a bunch of NFL moves and news right now. So college, Maryland, they have their other co-offensive coordinator. They've hired former Miami offensive coordinator and Michigan offensive coordinator as well, Josh Gaddis, to be, like I said, their co-offensive coordinator and QB's coach. So Maryland getting some help there on offense in Talia Tagovailoa's last season at College Park. USFL news, the Stallions, they have signed wide receiver Deion Kane, NFL veteran, has played for the Colts. I believe he's been on the Eagles practice squad as well, has been around a little bit, trying to make it back to the NFL, getting a shot with Birmingham there in the USFL starting in April. XFL news, the Vipers, Vegas Vipers, they have parted ways with their offensive coordinator, Dwayne Taylor. 0-3 for Rod Woodson's team, just not working on offense, whether it be Louis Perez, who started week 1, Brett Hundley, who started weeks 2 and 3. So, yeah, got to figure something out for that Vegas offense. Just hopefully it's not this week against DC. NFL news, I mentioned we do have a trade. I didn't make a slide for it this time, but the Jets and Ravens have struck a trade. Not the trade everyone thought the Jets were going to make, though. The Jets getting safety Chuck Clark from Baltimore for a measly 2024 7th round selection. I was kind of shocked at that compensation for Chuck Clark, but yeah, a solid player in a position of need with LaMarcus Joyner, I believe, is a free agent for the Jets. So pretty solid trade by Joe Douglas there. Just one more to go, right, Logan?
Hopefully, man. I can't take much more.
But yeah, I was surprised about that compensation though. Just next year 7. General news. Speaking of the other Jets trade, the Jets do have optimism that they will land Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers in a trade before the new league year begins. As I forget who said it on Twitter today, they posted I think it was Ian Rappaport. He was on the NFL Network news segment, and it's like the top story every day. It's like, will this be the day or not?
Yeah. There's some different reports out there about kind of what's taken so long, but Rappaport and a few others have kind of made it seem like there's a deal in place, at least kind of between the two teams, in principle. And they're just kind of, both parties are waiting on Rodgers now to kind of give his stamp of approval or not. So it's very interesting, very stressful. I'm tired of I'm sick of having to keep refreshing my Twitter feed, but it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's going to happen before the league year. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm pretty sure it is going to happen at this point. I don't see a world where he just comes back to the Packers after all this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, sooner rather than later, I guess, from now until Monday.
Yeah, I was gonna say they better get it done, tonight, tomorrow, or Sunday, because Monday at 4 p.m. the negotiating window opens for free agency. So that would really screw it up for both teams, not knowing if they're gonna have his cap charge on their books or not.
Yep.
For free agency's sake. The Commanders. Everyone's been saying Jeff Bezos to buy the Washington Commanders. Well, there's another party now. DC billionaire Mitchell Rawls, or Rails, I'm not sure how you say his name. He is the co-founder of Danaher Corp. That is DC's biggest company. And Josh Harris, the 76ers principal owner and managing partner. They have formed a partnership in an attempt to buy the Washington Commanders. So yeah, I'm happy that there's another party involved. And there's some competition.
Yep. Yeah. I think some competition is nice. You just don't want to go handing the reins over to anybody, just because they have the means to do it. You could end up in a worse position potentially from what we currently have in Washington. But yeah, it's just another kind of storyline to keep looking at. And it's definitely, I think, because of some of the controversy surrounding Snyder, I definitely think it's going to be a much more important and talked about ownership transition.
Yeah, it would be interesting though, for Mr. Harris there. He might get some flack buying the Commanders and owning a Philadelphia sports team.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would go over in Philly with the Sixers fans, but the NFL docked the Houston Texans a 2023 fifth round pick and $175,000 fine for a salary cap violation during COVID for Deshaun Watson's training. So I didn't really get the full story on this. I guess they were paying for Deshaun Watson to train offsite because of the COVID restrictions. He couldn't train in the Texans building. So, and they apparently, I guess, didn't add that to the cap. It was like 26 grand, I heard, or something like that. I'm like, really?
At least it's an exercise, and hey, look, the league's gonna find out. Any penny out of place, and the league's gonna find out about it. So
yeah, I don't know. It was kind of a lot for me, but yeah. The next couple things are some free agency notes. The Bucks linebacker Levante David gonna test free agency. The Bucks are interested in retaining him, but with their horrid cap situation right now, they can't do it currently until they get some more space. So, but yeah, Levante David probably going to be one of the most sought after veteran linebackers. A bunch of them out there. Bobby Wagner as well, and then a younger guy in TJ Edwards, also off ball guys. The Jimmy G sweepstakes is heating up a little bit. Panthers, Texans, and Raiders all expected to be in on Jimmy Garoppolo. And I'm thinking Raiders. I think the Josh McDaniels connection from his time in New England, I think that's the landing spot for Jimmy G right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's the best fit, I think, for familiarity with the coaching staff and just in terms of where the team is in the draft right now. I fully expect to get for the Raiders to try and get one of the top 4 young guns in the draft, but unless they trade up with the Bears, it's going to be tough for them to take from that young or Stroud tier. So it's probably going to be down to Richardson or Levis, both of whom needs some polishing up. So I think it makes a lot of sense to get a veteran arm who has experience with the coaching staff and the offense, who can kind of be that bridge quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm also just being biased as well. I'm still holding out hope the Panthers go to 1 for Mr. Young. Anyways, the Vikings, interesting situation here. Linebacker Zadarius Smith has asked for his release, and the team said, "Nah, fam, we're keeping you." I don't know how that's going to get reconciled, but still haven't heard any update on it yet.
Well, and he did like a goodbye post and everything. Like, I don't know. It's strange, man. It's kind of sad, actually. Like, Z's first couple of years in Green Bay, I mean, we loved him. I mean, the fans all loved him, and it was just like, I don't know, the last couple seasons, he has become like a locker room cancer. There's just no way about it. I think a lot of people throw that word around in situations where it doesn't really make sense, but like this is literally like it. Like, this is going to be the second team he's trying to force himself out of, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, it seems like a good situation for him. I don't know kind of what his year looked like. I thought he had a decent year.
Well,
yeah,
I think he wants to go to he probably wants to go to a team that's closer, probably. Vikings are in a kind of retool right now, especially on defense. They need a lot of pieces on defense to compete. And, Kirk Cousins isn't getting any younger on offense. They just released Adam Thielen, so.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's fair. But at the same time, like, those teams aren't giving out those contracts, like he doesn't really fit what those teams that are really close are kind of looking to do. And we'll see as more guys get restructured here before the negotiating window, just how much cap space teams are working with. But my guess is that Zadarius isn't going to want to take that big of a pay cut. Maybe he is. Maybe he's leaning into his kind of veteran era. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. It is a very strange saga, because it's like he decided this unilaterally and the team was like kind of blindsided by it. So
guy that is a free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. had a workout today in Arizona. Didn't hear anything really about it on social media so far. I don't know when it was or if it's ongoing right now, but I know Kim Jones did mention the Giants quarterbacks coach or Is he quarterbacks coach or pass game coordinator? I don't know. Mike Groh, though. Wide receiver, I don't know. Wide receivers coach. He's something for the Giants. And other Giants personnel were there. So that was the only team that I had heard actually
I believe the
being
Jets
named.
were there too. And then there was Odell, or it was either Odell or Garrett Wilson posted a FaceTime between them afterward, I believe. So if you want to, get your tinfoil conspiracy theory hats out for that and try to read the tea leaves there. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's such a weird evaluation for OBJ because like the last time we saw him, he looked just as good coming off that injury, as he was before. He was super effective for the Rams in their playoff run. He was a huge part of it. But I mean, coming back now from another season-long injury where he's been away from the game for over a year, it's just really tough. So it is really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what contract he commands, and kind of what teams are interested in him.
And it was the same knee too.
Mm.
It was a left knee twice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, wide receiver 2, decent value, I think, right now. This one blindsided me today. I was working out and I saw the Twitter thing pop up. The Eagles, they have allowed corner Darius Slay's agent, which is the GOAT, Drew Rosenhaus, to seek a trade. 17.5 million cap hit right now for 2023. And I was just like, why?
Yeah.
we're already letting James Bradbury go in free agency. I thought we were just going to draft a corner to pair with Slay. But this wasn't him. It was the team, which was weird. So I don't know. I don't really know why this is occurring.
Yeah. I mean, the cap hit's pretty decent. So I mean, the way I see it is it's kind of a rough day for the cap is fake people, because it is definitely real. It's very manipulable, if that's even a word. It's very malleable. You can do a lot with it, but it is very real. And there's every season we kind of get some of these guys who might become available that we didn't even think might have been becoming available. And Slay seems to be one of those guys. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Eagles potentially with almost an entirely new secondary next season.
It might be the entire defense point. And CJ Gardner-Johnson's a free agent. We got 4 defensive linemen in free agency. Anyways, but he is 32, so I understand how he's trying to get out early before a major decline happens that maybe he sees coming. I mean, how can you, at this point, how can you really say anything about how he's moves when what they did last year with all the moves that he accomplished? So yeah, I have to, in Howie we trust right now. The Saints, they have offered quarterback Jameis Winston a restructured deal to stay in New Orleans. He has until the new league year to decide on whether he wants to sign that or not. I don't know if he will. I mean, I think he should. I mean, I think he's under contract for 1 more year. So would it be the worst thing? No one is going to be signing Jameis to be a starter right now. I don't
Mhm.
think, anyways, based off what he's done the last couple of years in New Orleans. So
Yeah.
I would probably take it if I'm him.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I don't know what the contract details, but I'm hoping that the Saints are paying him like a backup quarterback, because that's kind of what the market value would be for him. I mean, a priority backup, I think, I think there's definitely, you could do a lot worse for your QB2 than Jameis. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what the contract details are, especially with how kind of cash strapped the Saints are.
Yeah, I think it would just be cash out, cap hit lowered,
Mm.
probably, anyways. The Jets not going to tender restricted free agent running back James Robinson. He's going to be a free agent. And adding to the just monstrosity that is the free agent running back class. It is ridiculous how many solid players are going to be available at that position. With a running back draft class, it's also, I think, decent. Not much has been talked about the running back draft class other than Bijan Robinson, but I think there's a lot of guys that are pretty solid that you can get throughout the draft in different roles. So, but yeah, Robinson, just another guy.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what the market says kind of some of those guys are worth, because it just seems the trend has been a devaluation in that position. But like you said, there are a lot of pretty big name guys coming out here. So we'll see which teams are willing to go a little more old school, pound the table for a good franchise RB, and which teams are going to maybe go the analytical route and not want to give out those contracts to that position.
The Dolphins, they have picked up to quarterback Tua Tagovailoa's fifth-year option, $23.2 million for 2024. Vote of confidence from the front office and the brass there in Miami that Tua will be back. He will be fine. He's their guy. And now he's in there for another 2 years at the very least. So I think it's a good move. You gotta, from what he did when he was healthy, and with the offense that they had, I think it's a good move for the Dolphins.
Yeah. The big thing is for me is if he's healthy. And if he's healthy, this is a no-brainer. You obviously pick up that fifth-year option. He did earn it. He was able to run that offense really well. I think maybe the playoffs, happen a little differently for them if he's healthy. I'm just hoping the team is doing right by him in doing their due diligence on kind of what his health looks like. Yeah.
The Patriots gonna look a little different on the back end this year. Patriots safety Dev McCourty has officially retired. 13 years, all in New England. The Patriots drafted him in the first round of 2010, 27th overall. 3-time Super Bowl champ, 49, 51, 53. 2-time Pro Bowler, 3-time second team All Pro. Regular season, he played and started all 205 games, 971 tackles, 740 of them solo, 20 tackles for loss, 35 interceptions. He was the active leader in that category. 2 pick sixes, 110 pass deflections, 11 forced fumbles, 7 fumble recoveries, 3 sacks, 4 QB hits, and a kick return touchdown. That was an interesting nugget there in McCourty's stats. 2012, he had a kick return touchdown. And then in the playoffs, started and played in all 24 games. 119 tackles, 92 of them solos, 1 tackle for loss, 2 picks, 10 pass deflections. Great career. Not a Hall of Famer, though, unfortunately. He's a great dude, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's definitely one of those guys where, it is kind of in that borderline realm. But yeah, I mean,
Patriots Hall of
nonetheless,
Fame.
what?
Patriots Hall of Fame, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. And, he's definitely one of those guys where you think about that era for the Patriots, you're going to think of he's like just the prime example of a Patriot. And, that's a cool thing to be.
Moving on to just one injury note, 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy underwent successful surgery on his UCL today. Should begin throwing in about 3 months. So we're looking at June for Purdy to get back to throwing and see if he can progress enough to I don't know what they're gonna do. Are they gonna make it an open competition or not? That's the big question for Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be one of the most interesting storylines of the offseason. But I mean, that's good news. I know when he initially heard it, there was talks maybe he wouldn't even be ready until August. And I think that really changes the conversation. But I mean, if he's able to start throwing kind of before training camp, I think that's a pretty good sign. So hopefully everything still goes well there.
Yeah, it was delayed a little bit with the swelling and inflammation there. Cat moves, just gonna run these real quick. Not really much to talk about, it's just money. The Jets, they converted 4.5 million of tight end CJ Uzama's salary into a bonus, 3.6 million in cap space savings there. Chargers restructuring wide receivers Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So that's noteworthy because there was talk about Keenan Allen possibly getting released. Not going to happen with the restructure there. 14.3775 million in cap space for LA. Dolphins, they did a lot of work trying to get space restructuring linebacker Bradley Chubb. That's 14.656 million. Left tackle Teron Armstead, that's another 11.876 million. And then Tyreek Hill, they converted $10 million. They converted a $10 million roster bonus and a $16 million salary into a $24.835 million bonus and a $1.165 million salary. So that's 18 million. So that's a lot of money for Miami. Whoa, okay. We got the big one, y'all. Oh, baby. Yes, sir. Carolina. Let's go. We got Bryce Young, baby. We got Bryce Young. Yes, sir. The Chicago Bears are trading the number 1 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. What goes back to Chicago? Number 9, number 61, first rounder in 24, second rounder in 25, and DJ Moore.
Wow.
Oh, baby, we got Bryce Young. I am hyped. I swear to God, right? If they draft CJ Stroud at 1, I'll be pissed.
Man, that is a really interesting trade. I think that, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, for both sides. Man, yeah. I mean, I think that if you are the Panthers, you would have liked to hang on to more. Obviously to develop a young quarterback, but to be able to hang on to pick 39 is huge.
Mhm.
And then being able to hold on to your second round pick next year is also pretty big.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty even trade. I think Chicago gets some necessary pieces. They get Justin Fields, his number one guy. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those trades where it's like mutually beneficial for both sides.
Yeah, and right now, the Panthers are showing at 12.3 million in cap space per over the cap. And what's gonna, I mean, they're gonna have a lot more cap space now. DJ Moore had the highest cap number on the roster. 25 million was his cap number for this year. So I don't know how much. Let me see what a. All right, that's the post June trade, pre June 1 trade. So they're gonna get about. Okay, so they're gonna save 10.4 million. Of that, they're gonna have $14.6 million dead cap. So they're still gonna end up, around 22.7 million in cap space now with the amount of cap they're saving on this on his contract anyways. So, that puts in the possibility. I know they probably don't want to do another trade because they don't really have the assets now, but whenever I saw that, I was just like, okay, well, we need a receiver now. So go get Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
He wants out of Houston anyways, so why not?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some guys out there. And even if you sign, I know we've talked about that, this free agency class doesn't have a lot of big name guys, a lot of wide receiver ones in it. That's probably why Chicago was working towards trying to get more involved in this trade. But there are quite a deal of guys who have decent wide, who are solid wide receiver twos, who are going to raise the floor of your wide receiver room. And yeah, I mean, the Panthers will have some room to maybe go get one of those guys or trade for one of those guys. Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of those trades. They're kind of rare, but everyone wants to talk about, who won. I think both of these teams, for where they're at, did a good job of getting this done.
Yeah, and we always talk about, or people always talk about, who gets. Mention who wins, who loses. I think usually the team that is trading up gets fleeced the most. But for this, it does feel like, or at least right now, that both teams pretty even based off, obviously it depends what chart you use because there's a couple different ones. But, based off just, general knowledge, the value of the number one pick being so high, dropping 8 spots for Chicago, I think that was a good deal for both sides right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. We have our first our first league altering trade for the season. And we don't have a lot of breaking news on the pod. We don't usually get a chance for that. So yeah.
Yeah, I literally saw it pop up and it literally just said compensation update. And I saw Bears trading number one. I didn't even see that it said to Carolina. I was like, I had to open that one up.
Yeah.
But okay. Well, the Panthers also got more money because they restructured Taylor Moton's deal also. 11.013 million on that. So that helps as well. To get free agents. Cardinals doing a rework a left tackle TJ Humphreys deal, 5.33 million there. Eagles doing a rework kicker Jake Elliott's deal, 2.492 million. Ravens doing the same with defense tackle Michael Pierce, 2.668 million. The Bucks clearing out 9 million on defensive tackle Vita Vea's deal. That's a cap conversion also. Cowboys, big savings, restructuring quarterback Dak Prescott and guard Zach Martin's deals. They got 30 million out of that. But Dak's cap hit in 2024 is now 59 million. So that's nice. Last year of his deal. And then your Packers restructuring left tackle David Bakhtiari's deal, 9.5 million, converted into a roster bonus, 5.5 million of his base salary into a guaranteed signing bonus. I didn't get the total savings on that because they weren't in the tweet that I had that on. So
yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think the two teams where your antenna kind of goes up with these restructures are the Dolphins and the Cowboys, because they cleared quite a bit of space, and that makes you wonder if they're just doing it because it's, they had a plan in mind, or if they have identified one or two or a couple guys that they are wanting to kind of go after here.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily what the Dolphins would be looking for. Corner. That's what they need is a corner to go opposite Xavier Howard. The Cowboys obviously receiver. They're probably clearing space. Everyone's been putting Odell to them, so who knows with that. But yeah, the Dolphins are now, I don't know if this is including all the restructures or not, but 28.57 million. Right now they're actually a top 10. Yeah, they're right at the bottom. They're the top 10 most cap space. Cowboys at 14.75 million, right in the middle there. So yeah, money to work with. Re-signings, the Saints, pretty good deal here, signing special teamer JT Gray to a 3-year $9.6 million deal, 11.5 million max. That's quite some money for a special teamer. I was kind of surprised at that deal.
Yeah. When I saw that deal, I thought the same thing, but then they also said in the tweet, special team star. So I'm not as up on my special team stats as I need to be probably, or the Saints special team situation, but it sounds like he's a pretty big part of it. So
yeah, he is. He is one of the guys I do know in terms of like just special teams guy every year. When you vote on the Pro Bowl and there's like this, it's the same guy every year for a team. Falcons, mentioned this last show, but got the numbers now here. They signed linebacker Lorenzo Carter to a $9 million deal, $10 million max. So that's a team friendly deal for a guy that had, I believe, 5 sacks last year. The Texans, they signed safety MJ Stewart, 2-year, $7.5 million max value deal, $3 million guaranteed. Again, just teams trying to re-sign their lower level guys that they can bang out contracts easily for, that don't have a lot of offset language. Very happy about this today. The Eagles re-signing defensive end Brandon Graham, 1-year, $6 million deal. He didn't want to test the free agent market. He wanted to stay in Philly. He's been in Philly his whole career, so I think it's right that the team brought him back, and he accepted a lesser deal than maybe what he would have got on the market. I mean, he's 33? I can't remember. I had 33 and 35 in my mind, so I don't know which one of those are right, but yeah, 11 sacks last year in a rotational role seems fit. He's like he's running the I can't remember his name right now. Anyways, the whatever, I can't remember his name. 11 games though from the team record of games played in Eagles history. That is David Akers, 188 career games played. So Graham plays all 17 games next year. He will break it and surpass it by far. There is other Bears news, by the way. They re-signed their fullback. Everyone loves a fullback. Kari Blasingame re-signed to a 2-year extension there in Chicago, trying to pave ways for David Montgomery. Releases. How about this one? The Cardinals released wide receiver chosen Robbie Anderson. He changed his name to Chosen.
Yeah.
It's just like, why?
Yeah.
He's not chosen though, apparently, not to play on the Cardinals anyway.
Brutal.
Or the Panthers. Or the Jets.
Oh.
Just keep it rolling.
Yeah.
The Jags, they released corner Shaquille Griffin. That was kind of a surprise. But they got their young guys now. Tyson Campbell, very good season last year at the corner position. Jets, interesting one. They released wide receiver Braxton Berrios, $5 million savings there. He was their starting punt returner and one of their best slot receivers.
Well, they're not going to need him once they bring Cobb in.
You said he was retiring.
I mean, if 12 says, hey, I need you in New York, we'll see.
A big one here, the Vikings releasing wide receiver Adam Thielen. I didn't get the money on that. I know his cap hit was, I think, 17 million or something, 19 million. I don't know what it was. It's pretty high for a 32-year-old wide receiver. And I don't know what Adam Thielen goes now, or what he does, because he's been a Viking his whole career. So
yeah. Initial
dark side
reports,
with Green Bay.
Yeah, initial reports were he's looking for a contender, and I think that makes sense for where he's at in his career. I think it made sense for the team to release him, and I definitely do think that there's definitely some tread off the tires. But that being said, I think he's still got something left. I think if you're looking for a reliable veteran pass catching option, which a ton of teams are, especially a lot of contenders, then I think he has a role definitely out there.
Yeah, I mean, even if he didn't play again, that was just amazing career. Undrafted Minnesota State Mankato.
Yeah.
Very cool. Seahawks, they released guard Gabe Jackson, $6.5 million savings, 4.7 million dead money there. Kind of knew that one was coming. Titans, they're releasing everyone right now. Mentioned this on Monday. They're going to release Bud Dupree at the start of the league year, 9.35 million in savings for him. They also released their starting center, Ben Jones. So, I mean, I don't know what the Titans are going to even look like next year, because they have money issues and no offensive linemen on the roster. So, yeah. I wouldn't want to come back if I'm Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, they're one of those teams, man, where it's just they're in a very rough place going into this offseason, where it almost feels like they can't even really solve it this offseason, where they're kind of just like this might be a sunk year, which is kind of crazy considering that, I mean, they were one of the best teams in the AFC for the last, not including this season, but it's before that, probably the last like 3 seasons. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to their moves, but it definitely looks like they're cleaning house.
And they only have 6 draft picks too. So the Vikings in weird move, I thought today. They waived corner Cameron Dantzler, $2.743 million. So not a lot of savings. It's really not compared to what we've been seeing with all the other a lot of other guys, but he started 9 games for them last year, and I thought he was going to be one of the building blocks on their defense because they were trying to get younger.
Yeah. I mean, the reaction was that he's a solid player. I don't have, as much of a idea of kind of what he is, but seeing the reaction from a lot of Vikings fans, they weren't happy with this one. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just the Vikings are also kind of in a spot where they're kind of quietly making a lot of team altering moves. That defense is going to look completely different, probably. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
The Broncos making a lot of moves today as well. They released running back Chase Edmonds, $5.92 million. Corner Ronald Darby, he had a $12.7 million cap hit. I don't know what the savings were on him. And then starting guard Graham Glasgow, $11 million savings on that one as well. So Broncos, another team that is just like clearing house right now.
Yeah.
Dude,
I gotta head off. Congratulations on pick number 1.
Thanks,
we'll
man.
definitely have more to unpack probably in the coming hours here. So yeah. But in the meantime, congratulations on hopefully Bryce Young. And I will see you next week.
Yes, sir. I'll see you. Speaking of the Panthers, they released linebacker Damian Wilson today, $3.6 million savings there. The Steelers, interesting one, they released corner William Jackson III, $12.1875 million savings. Really never did anything in Pittsburgh. They traded for him last year as a pretty solid deal for them, low-level draft pick compensation, and he got injured and just didn't play. So, yeah, I mean, that was a weird one for Pittsburgh, kind of a sunk cost there. And then the Patriots today, they released punter Jake Bailey. So they will look for a new punter this offseason. XFL pick standings. Yes, Mark finally dropped his first of the year solo lone wolf on his St. Louis Battlehawks last week against my DC Defenders. Mark, you can't win against the beer snake. You got to understand that, sir. So 10-1 for Mark, 9-2 for Logan and I. We went 4-0 each last week. Very solid week all around, though. This week we have, starting off tomorrow, we have 2 games on each day, doubleheaders. Roughnecks at the Orlando Guardians here. The Houston Roughnecks, the favorite to win the XFL right now. They and DC are the only 2 undefeateds left. 3-0 for them, 0-3 for Guardians. Terrell Buckley's team trying to get back on track and get their first win of the season at home. We're all on Houston. I mean, Brandon Silvers and this Houston offense has been very good. John Trey Kirkland at wide receiver specifically as well. Max Borghi at running back was awesome last week. And we'll have to see if he plays. I got to monitor that for my my DraftKings fantasy lineup there. But also on the other side, defensively, Houston is the best, tied for DC at 13 points allowed per game, I believe, in the XFL. And then, they're very good at taking the ball away, very good at sacking the quarterback, and they can do it all. So Paxton Lynch, while he did play very well against the Renegades last weekend in a 10-9 loss, I do think he played his best game. Going to have to play his best game in this one. I took the Roughnecks spread minus 8.5. They beat them 33-12 the first game in week 1. This is a rematch. I just think that something similar to that's going to happen again. Houston's just way too good for the Guardians, even though they have tried to make some moves. We'll see if Quentin Flowers plays in this game. They just signed him this week, but Cody Latimer should have another good game because he has had good games every week so far for Orlando, even in losses at tight end. Over under is 37.5. I'm probably liking the over in this game. 7 p.m. FX and ESPN Plus. The San Antonio Brahmas at the Seattle Sea Dragons. One team getting to 500 after this game. We're all on Seattle. Yeah, and it's because Ben DiNucci and that passing offense is just electric. They also have the league's leading rusher, and Morgan Ellison ran for over 100 yards last week, first 100-yard rushing performance of the season in the XFL. I bought some points on the spread for this game. I think that it's going to be closer than 4.5. That's why I didn't like that. I got it down to 3. So I think 3 is a good number for this one. Seattle, I do think, can win. San Antonio is pretty tough on defense, but not going to be good enough against Ja'Cory Pearson and Josh Gordon in that passing attack with Ben DiNucci. This one total is 40.5, second highest of the weekend. And I think probably over. I mean, I don't see why Seattle can't score enough points here. This one's a late one on Saturday, 10 p.m. FX and ESPN Plus. On Sunday, we have the Arlington Renegades at the St. Louis Battlehawks, the Battlehawks home opener, and it is going to be crazy, y'all. They just started selling 400 level tickets. They sold out the lower bowl. They are almost selling out the 300 level. Now they're selling 400 level because there's so much people in St. Louis want football and they want to watch Battlehawks football. So yes, it is going to be a raucous crowd, probably the biggest crowd of any stadium that we're going to see in the XFL. And I feel bad for Bob Stoops and co going into that environment at the Dome of America, I think it's called now. It was the Edward Jones Dome, but Dome of the Americas, I think is what its name is. Anyways, AJ McCarron and that offense, I think, should do well against the Arlington defense, which is pretty tough. But I just think that I bought the points down to -2 for this one. I think that's a solid line. It's going to be a close game. I think Kyle Sloter really was not impressive last week, even in a win. And they're going to have to do a lot more on offense if they want to get past the Battlehawks, who played close one in DC last week, just came up short. So I think St. Louis gets it done. It's a close game, but they do win this one, as Mark and Logan think as well. Total is 36.5. I'm going with the under. I think this is a close game. Both offenses have kind of struggled throughout the year. So yeah, under 36.5. That one's 4 p.m. ESPN2 and ESPN Plus on Sunday. And the Vegas Vipers at the DC Defenders on Sunday night. Of course, I am picking the DC Defenders, but Mark and Logan with me this week as well. And 6 points was a lot for me. They did beat them by more than that in their first meeting in Vegas. 18-6 was the final score of that game in a rainy, windy one. But I think that the total is more prevalent in this game. Total is 41. I got it at 42 earlier in the week on Wednesday. So happy to get it at 42. I think the under hits. DC's defense is very good. And the Vegas defense, I think, can hold DC relatively low points. So that's why I like the under in this one, the highest point total of the weekend. I think the under hits here. 7 p.m. ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. Next week, we'll be back on Thursday. So we'll have a Monday, Thursday show schedule next week based off my spring break plans. So Monday, we'll be back on Monday, and then we'll do a Thursday show for XFL Week 5 week preview there and free agency. We'll also have free agency to talk about, guys, in the NFL with the league year kicking off on Wednesday. Very hyped for that. Negotiating window starts Monday at 4 p.m., so an hour before showtime. The negotiating window will kick off. We'll have free agent deals flying left and right. So excited we got the number 1 overall pick for Carolina. And let's go, DC Defenders, shields up, and we'll see y'all back on Monday. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, FAApodcast.com. You can check